Easy Explain Cartesianism, Discourse on the Method, Part 3. So here in Part 3, Descartes is going to get into what he calls his four moral maxims for following his philosophical method. And a quick note on what this really means, especially in comparison to the four rules we saw in Part 2. So if we think of those rules as the steps of doing this method, the rules you must follow to actually be completing the method, these moral maxims are kind of a secondary list of suggestions. The things that you should be doing on top of those rules, in addition to those rules. Think of morals, right? Usually when we think of morals, we think of things that we should be doing for ourselves or for others. It's the same kind of thing here. They're kind of informing those rules. So they're going to go right along with those rules, and they're going to contribute to the process. They're going to help us to clarify it a bit. But another quick disclaimer here as well, just like last time, these are not explicit verbatim quotes. They are very, very close to the original I got from my translation that I'm working with, but they've been very slightly paraphrased and worked with a little bit just to make the formatting here and reading them a little bit easier. So the first moral maxim: obey the laws and customs of the country, governing in all other matters according to the most moderate and least extreme opinions, the opinions commonly accepted in practice by the most sensible. So this essentially means that we're going to be following the philosophical method. We're going to follow those four rules to the extent of staying within the limits of the law. Descartes is not saying go out there and break the law, right? Say you conceive of a new idea that seems to be radical, and if you're going to act on it, you're going to be breaking laws. He is not advising that, right? We need to go on our search for truth within the limits of the law. So that's the first moral maxim. The second moral maxim here: be as firm and decisive in actions as possible, and follow even the most doubtful of opinions, once adopted, with no less constancy than if they had been quite certain. So here Descartes saying, you know what, you might come up with a new idea that is clear and distinct, but maybe you previously would have thought this was false. But he's saying, you know what, take it on, adopt it, and run with it. Follow it to the end. See how far it goes. You might be surprised. So that's the second moral maxim. The third, for Descartes here in Part 3, try always to master the self rather than fortune, and change one's desires rather than the order of the world. So this is a very internal journey when we're following these rules. We're really focusing on the self, our mind. We're not looking outwards to chance and the ways of the world. We're focusing on trying to figure out what we want, what we think, what we believe, what our reasons are, rather than thinking on the ways of the world, right? We're going to keep those laws in mind, but other words, following the rules of this method, we're not trying to change the world. We're really trying to look at our internal journey, right? That's what we're going on here. And finally, the fourth moral maxim in Part 3: continue with the occupation currently engaged in and commit to cultivating reason and advancing as far as possible in the knowledge of the truth, following the four rules of the method. So let's stay focused, let's stay present, let's see this out, let's follow these rules, let's keep going here on this inward journey. We're going to cultivate reason, follow the clear and distinct ideas we come up with as far as possible. We're going to see what kind of truths we can arrive at, and we're going to follow those four rules, right? So we have the four rules from Part 2, we have the four moral maxims from Part 3. We're ready to follow the Cartesian philosophical method. I hope this helps.